Hello dear learners, welcome back to my channel Megha Discourse. And in today's lecture, we continue the powerful genre of Indian literature. In our previous video, we explored some of the finest Indian writers in English such as Nizam Ezekiel, Kamla Das, Arun Joshi, and we also have some short videos on Indian writers like Mulk Raj Anand, Raja Rao. So in today's lecture, we continue this genre, and in today's video we will explore more Indian writers which are relevant for exam point of view. As we know that there are thousands of writers, but we only pick those which are important and get relevancy in our exam. And before moving to our lecture, I would like to thank to all the viewers, to all the learners for your likes, for your comments, and for the constant support motivating me every single day. So this channel Megha Discourse is growing because of you, and I am truly thankful for that. This is the list of writers which we are going to cover today. So our first writer is Badal Sircar, very important, 1925 to 2011. He was a celebrated Indian playwright, a director and a performer. He is known as the revolutionary writer in Indian theatre. And he was best known for the founding third theatre, the important term third theatre, which is actually a form that removed the distance between actor and audience. So what exactly the third theatre is? You can say like the third theatre are the old conventional and the traditional theatre in which lightning and so much embellished costumes and expensive text-based theatre, audience set far from the actor. So he rejected all these norms and he used minimalist and portable kind of theatre in which actor performed without lightning or so much embellished costumes, so which is accessible. He used audience participation as well. You can say this is what the third theatre exactly, and pioneered by Badal Sircar. Very important key term, you should know about that. Badal Sircar received many prestigious awards like Padam Shri in 1972, Sangeet Natak Akademi Award in 1962, and he got Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship in 1971. Why it is important to learn about this writer? Sometimes we get questions on statement in which they have option like A, B, and we have to eliminate that option. So these small information are very helpful while doing or attempting the question based on statement. Major works in chronologies are, the first verse is Ibong Indrajit, written in 1963. So he actually used existential crisis for the middle class youth in his work. It was about the play which follows the Indrajit. He is an ordinary man who was trapped in repetitive and meaningless cycle. Indrajit represents every man, who was symbolizing the frustration and the purposelessness of modern life. The next we have Baki Itihas, or you can say Remaining History, written in 1965, in which he explored hidden violence and the buried guilt within everyday life. So it is about a shocking murder committed by an ordinary man who forces for society to confront the violence within itself. Next and important, we have Pagal Ghoda, written in 1967, in which he uses the male hypocrisy and the tragic fate of a woman. So it is about the four men who was sitting around a funeral pyre, reveal the past relationship and the guilt. So in this play, each man actually exposes his own self-centered love, and they are making dead women the silent center of truth. Have the Procession or Michil, written in 1972, which have based on collective struggle and political power. The next we have Bhoma, which is based on exploitation of tribal communities. So it is actually a powerful commentary on land loss and displacement and the poverty. So Boma is a man and he is symbol of suppressed voices. So the next we have Aravind Adiga. He was the bold chronicle of modern Indian reality. He is actually a new Indian writer, and you can say that he was an Indian Australian novelist and generalist, and his writing focuses on class division, corruption, globalization, inequality and the hidden violence of Indian society. He became world famous with his debut novel The White Tiger, which shook readers by revealing the truth and the brutal reality behind India's economic rise. It is very important work, was asked in UGC NET. So he got award like Man Booker Prize for The White Tiger, and that's why this work is very important. And he was shortlisted for Commonwealth Writers Prize. So his major work is The White Tiger, written in 2008. He wrote about the class struggle, the corruption, freedom and identity in his work. It is a dark, comic and brutal story of Balram Halwai, who was a poor villager and becomes a successful entrepreneur by murdering the employer. The next we have in the character like Ashok and Pinky Madam, who symbolizes the privileged classes exploiting the poor. Because of the storyline, this novel won Man Booker Prize. Next we have Between the Assassination, written in 2008 or 9. Just check it. So it has themes such as social tensions and caste, religion and small town politics. It is actually a story of South Indian town, and it is interlinked with the assassination of Indira Gandhi, which happened in 1984, and Rajiv Gandhi in 1991. So it shows India's social fabric through multiple characters like priests, beggars, businessmen and children. The next work is The Last Man in Tower, written in 2011, which has theme of real estate greed and individual resistance and urban transformation. It is actually a story about a retired school teacher who refuses to sell his flat to the powerful builder. And the next we have Selection Day, which is actually based on ambition and family pressure and freedom. So this is the story about two brothers, Radha and Manju Kumar, who has a dream of becoming a cricket star under the strict father Mohinder Kumar. The storyline is based on a sports culture, and it shows the dark side of Indian cricket team. Next and the last we have Nesty, written in 2020, which have migration, fear and morality and undocumented labor. So this work is actually about Danny, who was an undocumented Sri Lankan immigrant from Australia, and he knows a secret about the murder, but he fears deportation, that if he go to the police then he will be arrested. So you can say Danny, he was torn between moral duty and the survival, and it highlights the migration struggle and the moral dilemma. So we can say that Aravind Adiga wrote on inequality, corruption, identity crisis and the violence which hidden behind the development and ordinary people who trapped in the system. So these were actually the themes written by Aravind Adiga. The next writer we have is Keki Daruwalla. He was very important and the fiercest voice of Indian English poetry. He was actually an IPS from UP cadre and a novelist, and he was the greatest Indian English poet. He was known for his ironic tone and the powerful imagery and bold criticism of socio-political realities. So his poetry comes from his lived experience, like he is in police service, he was a border violence, nature and landscapes, mythology and human suffering. So very important. You know what? Yesterday was HPSC PGT exam, in which the question has asked directly that Keki Daruwalla wrote on landscapes. Is the statement is correct or not? So yes, he wrote on landscape. Just keep it in mind. And I'm saying that these small information helps while we attempted the question, which is based on statement. He got Sahitya Akademi Awardee in 1984 for The Keeper of the Dead, very important work. Commonwealth Peace Prize. He got Padma Shri in 2014 and so many prizes as well. Major's works in chronology with explanation are here. The first one is Under Orion, his debut novel written in 1970. It is actually his first book on poetry. It is based on landscape, mythology, violence and desert imagery. It is his early poem which shows the harsh Indian landscapes, jungle and the deserts and rivers. He uses raw masculine imagery and it creates a tone of survival. Next he wrote Variations in April in 1971, important work. It was based on the difference between illusion and reality and the fear and psychological unrest. It is actually a slim, powerful collection which shows the poet's inner conflict and the uncertain world around him. He had Crossing of Rivers, important again, which is based on the floods, river and the nature's power, human helplessness. The poems like Crossing of River and Boat Ride, which shows his obsession with the water, danger and life on the edge. And because of his bold imagery, he got the Sahitya Akademi Award. The next he wrote Winter Poem, which is on the isolation, coldness and the existential crisis. Next important work is The Keeper of the Dead, 1982, Sahitya Akademi winner. So this work is based on actually on the death, violence, police life and the border tension. And The Keeper of the Dead, as the title signifies, it is a chilling poem about accidental death and the violence and human cruelty. And this book established him as the most realistic and fearless poet of modern India. And because of this book, he got the fame. The next he wrote Landscape, which is on history and geography, then A Summer of Tigers, which is on wildlife and ecological destruction. Then he has Night River, which is on memory, night silence and the flowing life. This actually shows his reflective phase. The next important work is The Map Maker, which is based on the history, the partition and mapping borders. It is written in 2002 and it explores how the border divides the identities and he connects the cartography to the human pain. So he also wrote fiction such as The Minister for Permanent Unrest and Other Stories, Love Across in the Salt Desert, very popular story, so keep it in mind. So wrote he For Pepper and Christ, which is based on Portuguese arrival. So these are some work written by K.N. Daruwalla. Well, we can say that Daruwalla is known for the sharp imagery, the masculine tone and the features that treated the uncomfortable truth. The next important writer we have is Ruskin Bond, important one, and many times we get questions on Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond is actually an Anglo-Indian writer known for his simple, heartwarming writing on nature, children and everyday life in the hills of Dehradun or Mussoorie. Important one, just keep this small detail in mind that he mostly wrote on the hills of Dehradun and Mussoorie, or you can say Garhwal region. He is one of the most widely read Indian authors and the favorite for school text and UGC questions. Why so? Let's explore his work. And he got Sahitya Akademi Award for Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra, and he got Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan in 2014. Other works he had The Room on the Roof, 1956, which he wrote at the age of 17. It is a coming of age novel who was on Rusty. He was an orphan searching for the freedom and the friendship, and it shows the identity and belonging of a child. And what exactly the coming of age means? Coming of age means the transition from childhood to adult. So the next he wrote Vagrants in Valley. It is actually the sequel of the work, and it again follows the rustic adventure and the loneliness and the friendship. So it captures teenage confusion very beautifully. The next he wrote A Flight of Pigeons, a historical novella which is based on actually 1557 revolt, important work, and it focuses on British family survival, and it was adapted as a film, Junoon. The next he wrote The Blue Umbrella, important one, which is story of a poor girl, Binia, and her blue umbrella, which have theme like innocence, jealousy and kindness, and it is very popular among school books. The next he wrote Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra 1991, important and must do work. Sahitya Academy, he got Sahitya Academy for this work, for this collection. It was actually a nostalgic stories about the childhood, nature and the memory. The next he wrote Rusty Comes Home, Rusty and the Leopard, etc. These are work based on Rusty's life journey, which have constant idea of emotions, youth, nature, childhood, freedom, friendship. So this is all about Ruskin Bond. Next most significant writer, Jayanta Mahapatra, one of the finest post-colonial Indian poets. He was the first Indian to win Sahitya Akademi Award for English poetry, and he is known for his complex imagery, for the quiet tone and deep personal historical reflection. He got Sahitya Akademi Award 1981 for the work Relationship, important one. He got Padma Shri, which he returned later in the protest live which happened in 2015. He also got honorary doctorates and so and so. So he was a major figure in modern Indian English poetry. It's a trio actually who laid the foundation of modern English poetry. These were Jayanta Mahapatra, A.K. Ramanujan and R. Parthasarathi. So these three are important so far as the modern English poetry is concerned. This work is The Swayamvar and Other Poems. It was his first collection which deals with love, myth and identity. The next he wrote Close the Sky 10 by 10. It is written during the Bangladesh War, that is in 1971. It explored the theme of violence and political unrest and human despair. The next is A Rain of Fire, which has rich imagery of nature, rituals and personal conflict. It establishes his distinctive voice and which is poetic. The next he wrote Waiting, which is based on morality, loneliness and silence. Furthermore, Relationship 1980, Sahitya Academy Award winning work, in his most influential work as well, which is a long poem exploring the relationship between the poet and the Odia land and the history and spirituality, because he often rooted in Odisha, and that's why this work is based on his Odisha interaction. It has myths, memory and landscape, life science, dispossessed nest and shadow space, bare space, random descent and so many works are there. These were some important works. So we found silence and emptiness, there is a history and memory, death, pain and oneness, Odisha's landscape and culture and mythology blended with personal suffering, and we have social justice. These kind of ideas we found in his work. Also remind his poem Hunger, which is very important nowadays. I hope you all are enjoying this lecture. We have so many writers and we have less time. We have to complete this writer. We have Kiran Desai. Kiran Desai, he is an Indian born author, daughter writer of Anita Desai. So in this lecture we work on both. So she is known for exploring the themes of migration, displacement, identity crisis, post-colonial tension and globalization. So her writing is both informative and political, and it prefers by UGC NET. She got Booker Prize in 2006 for The Inheritance of Love's important work. You know what? She was also the finalist of National Book Critics Circle Award. The major works she have first is Hula Blue in Guava Orchard, which is actually a comic and satirical novel which follows Sampath, a simple man who climbs on a guava tree and then he taken for a holy man. So this is actually a storyline of this work. So in this she has idea of superstition and small town politics and mockery of blind faith. So it is important and humorous tone, and it has a magical realism as well. And who was actually the founder of magical realism? Write down in comment section and tell me about the writer. The next we have The Inheritance of Laws. It is her most important and exam focused novel. It's actually a parallel story of Sai, her retired judge grandfather, and illegal immigrant Biju, who was in US. So So we have colonial disturbance, colonial hangover, class conflict, migration, globalization and identity in this work. So it actually captures the psychological effect of colonial rule on individuals. So that's why this work is important. So the next writer we have Anita Desai, the mother of Kiran Desai, and you can say if one writer taught Indian English fiction, then how to express inner conflict, psychological depth and the silence suffering of women. So she is the only Anita Desai who presented these ideas in a well knitted form in her work. One of the foundational voices of Indian English fiction, she pioneered psychological realism, especially focus on women emotional struggle, their identity crisis, their loneliness, and her writing is very delicate, introspective and powerful. So she asked frequently in exam as well. She was finalist of Booker Prize 3 times. The work which actually picked are Clear Light of Day, In Custody and The Fasting Feasting. So these are very important work written by Rita Desai. She got Padma Bhushan in 2014. So the major work first is Cry the Peacock, written in 1963, which is her debut novel, which is on psychological study of Maya, the important character, which is obsessed with a prophecy of death. So we have we have neurosis, fear and marital breakdown in this work. It shows actually his psychological style. The next we have Voices in the City. Voices in the City, written in 1965. Siblings lived in Calcutta and they are struggling with the identity, freedom and art. So we have existential crisis and modernity ideas in this work. The next is Bye Bye Blackbird, which is written in 1977. It is on racial discrimination is faced by Indians in London. So we have East and West and counter identity in this work. Next we have Where Shall We Go This Summer. Important work and important character is Sita, who actually seeking peace on an island, and again emotional trauma is the main idea of this work. The next is Fire on the Mountain. It got Sahitya Akademi Award bestseller, and we have a character Nanda Kaul, Raka and Iladas in this work. It's based on solitude and violence against women. So this work is actually known for the haunting description on a woman. The next have Clear Light of Day, which was the Booker finalist, and it was a story of siblings Tara, Raja and Bim, who were lived in Old Delhi. And we have partition, trauma, family bonds in this work. It is very important for exam. The next significant work is In Custody, written in 1984. It is a work of Devan, who was actually a Hindi teacher, and he was recording Urdu poet Noor Sahjwadi. So it has ideas like decay of Urdu culture, lost glory and their literary identity and the culture conflict, adapted for a film as well. Fasting Feasting, 1999, Booker finalist, very important work. It is also a parallel story of two siblings, who is Uma in India and Arun in USA, which shows patriarchy, gender roles and loneliness and cultural clash. This work is well known for NET exam point of view. So in nutshell, we can say that we have psychological conflict, female identity and emotional trauma, silence, loneliness, east-west tension, search for meaning in the work of Anita Desai. The next and important we have Shiv K. Kumar. Shiv K. Kumar, who was a poet, novelist and playwright. He was a critic and academician. So he belonged to the post-independence generation. He was writing with Western modernist fiction. He got Sahitya Akademi Award in 1987 for The Trap Falls in the Sky, important one, and he fellow of Royal Society of Literature in London. He was a professor in Osmania University. So the important work he wrote is Articulate Silences, which is first poetry collection. The next he wrote Cobwebs in the Sun, in which the poetry which is based on domestic tensions, love, loss and memory. The next is Subterfuges, which is known for the poems on deception and human hypocrisy. The next is Trap Falls in the Sky, a poetry collection which questions on destiny and human limitations. Thus Speaks in Buddha, important one, which is poetry retelling of Buddha's philosophy. We have also important novels like we have Bond's Prayer, we have A River with Three Banks, and Infatuation, which is a coming of age story exploring desire and cultural conflict. We have themes such as psychological realism, feminist sensibility, sexuality and human body. We have influence and modernist poets. So these kind of ideas can be clearly found in the work of Shiv K. Kumar, an important writer. Next and the last we have is Meena Alexander. So she is known for the work Nampali Road, which was frequently asked in our exams. She got many literary awards like Pen Open Book Award, Asian American Literary Award. So Meena Alexander, she is basically an Indian American poet, a novelist, and one of the strongest diasporic female voices in English literature. So her writing actually deals with exile, displacement, trauma and identity, memory and feminism. So she is widely studied in post-colonial literature. So after completing 2 or 3 lectures on Indian writers, we'll make a concise lecture series on Dalit literature, on diasporic literature. It's a poetry collection. She has Stone Roots and House of 1,000 Doors, then The Bird's Bright Bring, and Illiterate Heart, very important work which is very famous, and it is based on migration, trauma and belonging and the female body. So as the work which is frequently cited. She is known for Nampali Road, written in 1991, which is actually a political novel which set in Hyderabad. We have ideas of violence, protest and women rights in this work. See, we have important character Meera in this work. The next is Manhattan Music, again the important novel which is a diasporic novel set in New York. We have culture conflict, identity crisis and artistic loneliness in this work. Again the third important work, which is actually his autobiography, Fault Lines. It is a major text for post-colonial studies. It explored trauma, migration and multiple identity crises. And she has also written Women in Romanticism and I Wrote My Name. So these are some important works written by Meena Alexander. And again, this is actually the ritual to say, if you found this lecture helpful, then stay connected and hit the bell icon. And I hope you all are doing well so far as your preparation is concerned. If you have any query, then let me know in the comment section as well. Till then, bye bye, take care and stay connected.